What if I told you that some of the most gorgeous cars ever built in America came from a decade that most people think was all about disco balls and bell-bottoms? The 1970s. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Wasn't that the era when everything went wrong with American cars? Emission standards, fuel crisis, safety regulations? Well, here's the thing. Before all that really kicked in, and even as designers fought against those restrictions, American automakers created some of the most stunning machines to ever roll off an assembly line. We're talking about pure, unadulterated automotive art. Long hoods, aggressive stances, and styling that made you turn your head every single time one rolled past. I've spent 2 decades working on these beauties, and I'm here to tell you that the 70s produced some absolute masterpieces that still make my heart skip a beat. Today, we're counting down the 10 most beautiful American cars from that incredible decade. These aren't just pretty faces either. These machines combine drop-dead gorgeous looks with raw American muscle and presence that modern cars just can't replicate. So buckle up, because we're about to take a trip back to a time when chrome was king, big blocks ruled the streets, and American automotive design was at its absolute peak. Let's dive in. Number 10, 1970. Plymouth Superbird. Now here's a car that proves sometimes the craziest ideas turn out to be the most beautiful. You're probably looking at that massive wing and that aerodynamic nose cone thinking I've lost my mind, right? But hear me out. The 1970 Plymouth Superbird is automotive insanity at its finest, and that's exactly why it belongs on this list. Plymouth built this wild machine for one reason: to dominate NASCAR. They took the already aggressive Roadrunner, stretched the nose out nearly 2 feet, and slapped a wing on the back that stood almost as tall as the roof. It was outrageous. It was excessive. It was absolutely perfect. What makes the Superbird beautiful isn't just its wild aero package. It's the way Plymouth committed fully to the concept. They didn't half-step. That pointed nose cone with its flush-mounted headlights was like nothing else on the road. The wing wasn't just tall, it was positioned precisely where it needed to be for maximum downforce at Talladega speeds. Every element served a purpose, and somehow it all came together in this aggressive, almost alien design that screamed speed even when it was sitting still. The proportions work because of that extended nose. It balances out that towering rear wing in a way that shouldn't make sense but absolutely does. The bright colors they offered, the petty blue, the lemon twist yellow, the vitamin C orange, these weren't subtle cars, and they didn't pretend to be. Under that wild body, you could get the legendary 426 Hemi or the 440 Super Commando. Either way, you had enough power to back up those wild looks. Only 1,935 of these birds flew off the line in 1970, making them rare then and absolute treasures now. The Superbird represents everything that was bold and fearless about American automotive design before the bean counters took over. It's beautiful because it's uncompromising. It's stunning because it dared to be different. And yeah, that wing is absolutely ridiculous, which is exactly why we love it. Number 9, 1970. Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454. While Plymouth was going wild with wings, Chevrolet was proving that sometimes classic proportions and muscular lines are all you need to create automotive perfection. The 1970 Chevelle SS 454 is one of those cars that just gets everything right. Let's talk about that front end for a second. The quad headlights, that bold grille with the SS badge front and center, the power bulge on the hood. It's aggressive without being over the top. It's menacing without trying too hard. Chevy knew exactly what they were doing here. They created a face that said, yeah, I've got 450 horsepower under here, and I'm not afraid to use it. The body lines on the Chevelle are what we call perfect proportions. That long hood, the short rear deck, the slight forward lean to the stance. It looks fast standing still. The character line that runs from the front fender all the way back creates visual length and movement. The rear haunches are muscular but not exaggerated. Everything flows. And can we talk about that cowed induction hood for a minute? When you flip that switch and heard that flapper door open up, sucking cold air into that big block, you knew you were driving something special. The LS 6454 in its highest trim put down 450 horses, and every one of them was ready to shred those rear tires at a moment's notice. The Chevelle SS hits different because it represents the pinnacle of GM's body design. It's not trying to be a spaceship like some competitors. It's not loaded down with unnecessary styling gimmicks. It's just a perfectly proportioned, beautifully executed muscle car that happens to have one of the most powerful engines GM ever built. The rear end styling with the twin taillights on each side, the simple SS badging, the clean lines, it all works together. Chevy didn't overthink this one. They just built a beautiful, powerful machine that still turns heads over 50 years later. That's timeless design, folks. Number 8, 1971, Plymouth Barracuda. Here's where things get interesting. The 1971 Barracuda represents the last year of the third-generation design, and man, did Chrysler nail it. This car proves that bigger isn't always better when it comes to beautiful design. The E-body platform that the Barracuda shared with the Dodge Challenger was stretched and widened for 1970, and by 1971, designers had refined every detail to perfection. Look at that front end. Those two massive circular headlights give it an almost predatory look. The grille sits low and aggressive. The whole front fascia looks like it's ready to devour the road ahead. But here's what really sets the Barracuda apart. Those proportions. The wheelbase is shorter than a lot of its competitors, which gives it this taut, coiled appearance. It looks athletic. The long hood and short deck are classic muscle car design, but the execution here is cleaner, more refined than earlier attempts. Those side scoops behind the doors, whether they're functional or not depending on the model, add visual interest without cluttering the design. The roofline on the hardtop is near perfect, swooping back in this beautiful arc that creates one of the best profiles in American automotive history. And if you went with the convertible, well, you were driving pure open-air freedom with style. The rear-end treatment is aggressive with those horizontal taillights and the simple Barracuda badge. Plymouth kept it clean back there, letting the overall shape do the talking. When you saw one of these from behind, you knew exactly what you were looking at. Under that sculpted hood, you could get everything from a mild 318 all the way up to the legendary 426 Hemi or the 446 Pack. The CUDA variants with the performance packages were some of the fastest, most powerful machines of the era, but even the base models looked incredible. The 1971 Barracuda represents the peak of Chrysler's E-body design before emissions regulations and insurance premiums killed off the performance variants. It's stunning, it's aggressive, and it's uniquely American in the best possible way. Number 7, 1970, Dodge Challenger RT. Speaking of E-bodies, we can't talk about beautiful 70s cars without including the Dodge Challenger. While it shared its basic architecture with the Barracuda, Dodge took the design in a slightly different direction, creating something equally stunning but with its own distinct personality. The Challenger is longer than its Plymouth cousin, sitting on a 2-inch longer wheelbase. That extra length gives it a more stretched, more muscular appearance. It's less tight and coiled, more confident and planted. Both approaches work beautifully, they're just different flavors of the same incredible recipe. That front end is iconic. The split grille with the RT badge nestled between, the quad headlights, the aggressive front bumper. Dodge created a face that's both elegant and menacing at the same time. It's sophisticated muscle, if that makes sense. The kind of car that looks equally at home at a stoplight downtown or at the drag strip on Saturday night. The side profile is where the Challenger really shines. Those long flowing lines from front to back create this sense of motion even when it's parked. The slight kick up in the rear quarter panel adds just enough visual interest. The optional side stripes, whether you went with the full RT treatment or the simpler designs, enhanced rather than cluttered the clean lines. One of my favorite details on the Challenger is the optional shaker hood. That scoop poking through the hood, shaking and vibrating with the engine, connected directly to the air cleaner. It's functional, it's aggressive, and it adds this raw mechanical element to an already gorgeous design. You could feel the power just by looking at it. The rear-end styling with the full-width taillights, the simple Challenger script, the available spoilers, everything works together. Dodge offered this car in some incredible colors too. Plum crazy purple, go mango orange, sublime green. These weren't cars that tried to blend in. The Challenger RT could be optioned with everything from a 340 small block up to the 426 Hemi. No matter what engine you chose, you were getting stunning looks wrapped around serious performance. The 1970 Challenger represents Dodge at its absolute peak in terms of design and execution. Number 6, 1973. Pontiac Trans Am SD 455. Now we're getting into the mid-70s, where a lot of people think American car design went off a cliff. They're wrong. The 1973 Pontiac Trans Am SD 455 proves that beautiful, powerful cars were still being built even as the industry started to change. The second-generation Firebird platform that debuted in 1970 was stunning from day one, but by 1973, Pontiac had refined the Trans Am variant into something truly special. That signature Firebird on the hood, the ducktail spoiler out back, the shaker hood scoop on SD 455 models, this was aggressive American styling at its finest. What makes the 1973 Trans Am so beautiful is how Pontiac balanced the aggressive performance elements with elegant design. The body lines are smooth and flowing. The long hood and short deck create perfect muscle car proportions. But then you add in the functional ram air setup, the bold graphics, the honeycomb wheels, and you get this perfect blend of beauty and purpose. The front end with its split bumper design and pointed nose is iconic. Those round headlights and the aggressive air dam give it a predatory look. The side profile is low and wide, with subtle sculpting that creates shadows and highlights as the light hits it. This car photographs beautifully from any angle. But here's what really sets the 1973 Trans Am SD 455 apart. It was one of the last true performance cars before emissions and efficiency really strangled the industry. That Super Duty 455 put down 290 horsepower, which sounds modest now, but remember, this was with all the new emissions equipment. In reality, this engine was making significantly more power than the rating suggested, and it had torque for days. Pontiac only built 252 Trans Ams with the SD 455 in 1973, making them incredibly rare. They're the last gasp of the true muscle car era, wrapped in one of the most beautiful packages Pontiac ever created. The blue and white graphics, the gold accents, the aggressive stance, it all comes together perfectly. This car represents Pontiac's refusal to give up on performance and style even as the world around them was changing. It's beautiful because it's defiant. It's stunning because it refused to compromise. Number 5, 1970. Ford Mustang Boss 429. Ford's pony car had been evolving since its debut in 1964, and by 1970, it had grown into something truly spectacular. The Boss 429 takes everything great about the redesigned Mustang and cranks it up to 11. First, let's address the elephant in the room. The 1970 Mustang is bigger than the original, and some purists didn't like that. But you know what? Those larger dimensions allowed Ford to create some of the most aggressive, most beautiful proportions in Mustang history. The sports roof body style in particular is absolutely stunning. The Boss 429 was built for one reason, to homologate Ford's massive 429 semi-Hemi engine for NASCAR. To do that, they needed to stuff that huge motor into regular production Mustangs, which required sending cars over to Carcraft for extensive modifications. The result was a limited production monster that looked as good as it performed. That front end is pure aggression. The quad headlights, the bold grille, the functional ram air scoop on the hood, the front spoiler and the overall stance make it look like it's ready to pounce. The Boss 429 sits lower than standard Mustangs thanks to the modified suspension, which gives it this planted, ready-to-go appearance. The side profile on the sports roof is one of the best in automotive history. That fastback roofline flowing into the rear deck, the muscular rear haunches, the side scoops, everything works together. The hockey stick side stripes with the Boss 429 callouts are iconic without being overdone. Out back, the rear-end treatment is aggressive with the full-width taillights, the rear spoiler, and the simple Boss 429 badge. Ford kept it relatively clean, letting the overall shape and those massive rear tires do the talking. Under that hood sits one of the most legendary engines ever built. The 429 Semi-Hemi was rated at 375 horsepower, but everyone knew it was making way more than that. This was a racing engine barely detuned for street use. Only 499 Boss 429s were built in 1970, making them among the rarest and most valuable Mustangs ever produced. The Boss 429 represents Ford's commitment to racing and performance at the highest level. It's beautiful because every design element serves a purpose. It's stunning because it's unapologetically aggressive. This is American muscle in its purest form. Number 4, 1970. Chevrolet Camaro G28. GM's F-body platform was all new for 1970, and the second-generation Camaro that resulted is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful cars ever designed. Period. The Z28 variant takes that stunning design and adds the perfect amount of performance edge. The 1970 Camaro represents a complete rethink of the pony car formula. It's longer, lower, and wider than the first generation. The proportions are absolutely perfect. That long hood, the cab pushed-back design, the short rear deck, everything flows in this perfect line from front to back. The front end is aggressive without being overwrought. The split bumper RS package adds visual width. The recessed grills, the clean lines, the bold headlights, it all works together to create a face that's instantly recognizable. When you see a second-gen Camaro coming at you, there's no mistaking what it is. The side profile is where this car really shines. That sweeping roofline, the character line that runs the length of the body, the muscular rear quarters, it's automotive sculpture. The Z28 specific stripes and badges enhance rather than clutter the design. The 5-spoke rally wheels were perfect for the era and still look great today. The rear-end treatment is elegant and aggressive at the same time. The full-width taillights, the ducktail spoiler, the simple Z28 badging, Chevy got everything right. The overall shape from the rear three-quarter view is one of the most photographed angles in automotive history for good reason. The Z28 package in 1970 came with the LT1350 small block, rated at 360 horsepower, but known to make significantly more. This was a track-focused street car that could hold its own against anything on the road. The suspension upgrades, the front and rear spoilers, the hood with its distinctive rise, everything was designed to make this car faster and more capable. What makes the 1970 Camaro Z28 so beautiful is how Chevy balanced aggressive performance styling with elegant, flowing lines. It doesn't try too hard. It doesn't need excessive scoops and wings and graphics to look fast. The basic shape is so good that minimal decoration is all it needs. This design was so successful that GM used it with only minor updates for over a decade. That's how good it was. The second-generation Camaro, particularly the 1970 to 1973 models before the bumper regulations kicked in, represents American automotive design at its absolute peak. Number 3, 1970, Buick GSX. Here's where I might lose some of you, but stick with me. The 1970 Buick GSX is one of the most underrated beautiful cars of the entire decade. While everyone was focused on Chevelles and Cudas, Buick was building this absolutely stunning machine. Buick took the Skylark platform and turned it into a muscle car monster with the GSX package. What sets this car apart is how Buick combined their traditional elegance with raw performance aggression. The result is unlike anything else from the era. That front end is bold. The aggressive grille, the quad headlights, the functional hood scoops with the GSX graphics, it announces itself without being crude. There's a sophistication here that you don't see in a lot of muscle cars. This is a gentleman's hot rod, if such a thing exists. The body lines are smooth and flowing. The proportions are perfect. But then Buick added the bold striping package down the center and along the sides. The spoilers front and rear. The unique wheels. The wild colors like Saturn yellow and Apollo white. Suddenly, the sophisticated Buick became an in-your-face street fighter. The side profile shows off those beautiful GM body lines. The slight forward rake, the muscular haunches, the clean character lines, it all works together. The GSX-specific stripes and callouts add visual interest without overwhelming the basic beauty of the shape. Out back, the rear-end treatment is aggressive with the ducktail spoiler and the simple GSX badging. The full-width taillights are elegant. Everything about this car says fast, but it does it with a level of class that most muscle cars couldn't match. Under that hood, Buick stuffed the stage 455 big block, rated at 360 horsepower, but known to make much more. This was one of the torque monsters of the muscle car era, putting down 510 pounds to foot of twist. It would smoke the tires at will and run with anything on the street. Only 678 GSX models were built in 1970, with just 124 in that wild satin yellow. These are incredibly rare cars that combine stunning looks with massive performance. The GSX proves that Buick could build a muscle car as beautiful and as powerful as anything from their GM siblings. They just did it with a little more class. Number 2, 1970. Oldsmobile 442 W30. Speaking of underrated GM muscle, the 1970 Oldsmobile 442 W30 deserves way more recognition than it gets. This car is absolutely gorgeous and packs serious performance to back up those looks. The 442 name came from the original 4-barrel carb, 4-speed transmission, dual exhaust setup, and by 1970 it represented Oldsmobile's most serious performance offering. The W30 package took it even further with cold air induction, special heads, and a hotter cam. What makes the 442 so beautiful is how Oldsmobile balanced muscular aggression with their traditional styling cues. The front end is bold with its aggressive grille and the distinctive twin scoops on the W30 hood. Those scoops aren't just for show, they're feeding cold air directly to that 455 cubic inch big block. The body shares the GM body platform with the Chevelle and the GSX, but Oldsmobile gave it their own distinctive treatment. The side sculpting is more pronounced, creating shadows and highlights that emphasize the car's width and stance. The hockey stick body line is iconic, running from the front fender all the way back. The rear end is one of my favorites from the era. Those distinctive split taillights are pure Oldsmobile. The 442 badging is subtle but proud. The dual exhaust exits look purposeful. Everything about the rear three-quarter view says this car means business. Oldsmobile offered the 442 in some fantastic colors, and the Sebring yellow with black stripes is particularly iconic. But even in more subdued colors, this car has presence. The optional rear spoiler adds aggression without going overboard. The rally wheels or the available special wheels look perfect on this platform. The W30 package included functional ram air induction, which meant that 455 was sucking in cold, dense air and making serious power. Oldsmobile rated it at 370 horsepower, but like most muscle car ratings of the era, that was conservative. This thing would run 12-second quarter miles all day long. What I love about the 442 W30 is how it represents Oldsmobile's commitment to both style and performance. This wasn't a stripped-down drag racer. It had a nice interior, decent comfort, and styling that worked in any setting. But when you stomped on that gas pedal, it transformed into a tire-shredding monster. The 442 proves that you didn't need to sacrifice beauty for performance or vice versa. Oldsmobile built a car that was stunning to look at and brutally fast in a straight line. That's the perfect muscle car formula right there. Number 1, 1970, Chevrolet Corvette LS5. We finally arrived at number 1, and I don't think this is going to surprise many of you. The 1970 Chevrolet Corvette LS5 represents the pinnacle of American automotive design in the 70s. This is as good as it gets. The C3 Corvette generation, often called the Shark, debuted in 1968, but by 1970, Chevrolet had refined every detail to perfection. This is American sports car design at its absolute best. Every line, every curve, every detail serves both form and function in perfect harmony. Let's start with that profile. The Corvette side view is one of the most iconic silhouettes in automotive history. The long hood, the dramatically curved windshield, the fastback rear window, the boat-tail rear end, it all flows together in this organic, almost living form. This car looks like it's moving at 100 miles per hour sitting still. The front end is aggressive and purposeful. The hidden headlights maintain a clean front fascia during the day. The pointed nose and the low stance make it look ready to slice through air. The functional front fender vents aren't just styling elements, they're venting hot air from the engine bay and the wheel wells. Those curves along the side, the way the body swells over the wheels and then tapers in at the door, it's sculpture. The chrome side pipes on some models add visual and audible drama. The optional side exhaust was both beautiful and functional, and it let everyone within 3 blocks know you were coming. The rear end of the C3 is distinctive with its boat tail design and the round taillights. It's unlike anything else on the road. That rear window wraps around, giving the driver amazing visibility while maintaining the car's dramatic roofline. The whole rear treatment is bold without being excessive. The LS5 designation means this Corvette was packing the 454 cubic inch big block, rated at 390 horsepower. This was serious power in a relatively light fiberglass body. The Corvette could run with the best muscle cars in a straight line, while also handling curves that would leave those heavier cars behind. What makes the 1970 Corvette so special is how it represents pure American sports car philosophy. It's not trying to be a European exotic. It's not apologizing for its size or its big block V8. It's boldly, unapologetically American, and it's absolutely beautiful because of it. The interior is driver-focused with that distinctive wraparound dashboard. The exterior color options were fantastic, from classic Corvette red to wild Daytona yellow. Every angle of this car is photogenic. Every detail is considered. The C3 Corvette would continue in production with various changes through 1982, but those early chrome bumper cars from 1968 through 1972 are the most beautiful. The 1970 model year represents the sweet spot where all the details were refined but before regulations started forcing changes. This is America's sports car at its absolute peak. It's beautiful. It's powerful. It's iconic. The 1970 Corvette LS5 is number 1 on this list because it's simply one of the most stunning automobiles ever created, period. So there you have it, the 10 most beautiful American cars of the 1970s. From the wild aerodynamics of the Superbird to the refined elegance of the Corvette, this decade produced some absolute masterpieces of automotive design. Now, before we wrap up, if you love these classic American machines as much as I do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button right now. We dive deep into vintage American iron every single week, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. We've got restorations, deep dives, and some surprises that are going to blow your mind. Here's what strikes me looking back at these cars. They represent a moment in time that can never be repeated. The combination of powerful big block engines, minimal regulations, wild styling freedom, and American confidence created these incredible machines. Sure, the 70s had their challenges. The fuel crisis hit. Emission standards tightened. Insurance companies cracked down on performance cars. But before all that really took hold, and even as designers fought against those restrictions, they created automotive art. These cars are beautiful because they're honest. They don't hide what they are. A Superbird with its giant wing isn't trying to be subtle. A Boss 429 Mustang isn't apologizing for its aggressive stance. A GSX in Saturn Yellow isn't blending into traffic. These cars are loud, proud, and unapologetic, and that's why we love them. The styling trends of the 70s, the long hoods, the aggressive stances, the bold graphics, they came from a place of confidence. American designers knew they were creating something special. They were competing with each other to push the boundaries of what a car could look like while still being functional and fast. When you see one of these cars today, perfectly restored and driving down the street, it stops traffic. People pull out their phones, they point and stare. Because these machines have something that most modern cars lack: presence. They have soul. They have character. They're not trying to please everyone or meet every regulation or satisfy every committee. They're just brilliant, beautiful automobiles that happen to also be incredibly powerful. I've been fortunate enough to work on many of these cars over the past 20 years. I've restored them, modified them, driven them, and I never get tired of them. Each one has its own personality. Each one represents the vision of talented designers and engineers who are working at the peak of their abilities. The 70s might not have the reputation of the 60s when it comes to classic cars, but I'm here to tell you that's a mistake. Some of the most beautiful, most powerful, most iconic American cars ever built came from this decade. The cars on this list prove that beyond any doubt. So the next time someone tells you that all 70s cars were terrible, that emissions killed everything good about American automobiles, you can set them straight. Show them a Boss 429. Show them a 442 W30. Show them a C3 Corvette. These cars prove that American automakers never stopped building beautiful, powerful machines, even as the world around them was changing. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this countdown, make sure you check out our other videos on classic American muscle. We've got deep dives on specific models, restoration guides, and so much more content for vintage car enthusiasts. And seriously, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This channel is growing fast, and I don't want you to miss out on what's coming. Until next time, keep those classics on the road, keep appreciating beautiful American automotive design, and remember, they really don't make them like they used to. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes these 70s beauties so special.